we came to the conclusion, one of the big ways we can push the ecosystem forward is by doing pro bono audit work to make sure that projects that can't afford audits get audited. And so I made an announcement a while back that if you're a top 15 TVL protocol on Cardano and you agree to open source, then we'll conduct an audit for free.
What's up, Aiken Nation? Welcome to Dapp Central, your home for everything blockchain and crypto. My name is Fareed. As a part of today's video, we're going to be doing a joint interview with Anastasia Labs, who's an auditing firm here on Cardano, in addition to zkFold, aiming to provide the first ever zero-knowledge proofs or rollups here on Cardano. Now, before we jump into zkFold, let's go ahead and bring up Philip DeSaro, the founder and lead for Anastasia Labs, to get an update as to what they're building and just some of their contributions here within the Cardano ecosystem. So, Phil, welcome aboard. How are you?
I'm doing great. Yeah, thanks for having me on again.
You're welcome. I think our very first chat was an introduction to Anastasia Labs. You were a wealth of knowledge and you taught me a lot along the way, and I'm expecting nothing less as a part of today's catch-up. So maybe we can just kick things off with a brief introduction or reiteration of what Anastasia Labs is. For anybody who's hearing about you guys for the first time, in a brief kind of elevator pitch, can you explain what Anastasia Labs is and how they provide value to Cardano?
Yeah, so Anastasia Labs is a development and auditing firm in Cardano. We specialize in smart contract development and auditing, and most recently, even more so, specialized in auditing. And the value that we try to bring to Cardano is, we're very much of the opinion that Cardano is a very small pie right now, and we're trying to push the ecosystem forward and grow the pie instead of growing, a tiny slice of this pie. And one of the big ways we believe that we can achieve this is by publishing high quality open source code that is composable and reusable. So when other projects need things like multi-sigs or vesting scripts, they don't have to pay developers from the ground up to develop these things and then pay auditors to audit them. They can just use these already published solutions that are audited, battle tested, and never have to worry about it.
So you guys have partnered and collaborated with, I believe it's the Cardano Foundation, Wing Riders, Emergo, Fluid Tokens, OneChain, and LenFi. So, quite the reputable builders here on Cardano. I maybe want to just kind of jump into, what has changed between the last time that you and I talked and today. So are you guys working with any new partners? Have you guys developed any new methodologies when it comes to the auditing and smart contract verification process overall?
Yeah, so we've done a number of new audits since we last spoke. Denogo, Lending Pond, and a pretty big announcement. We're also auditing Atrium, and a pretty big announcement is, a long time ago I had posted that, I was trying to think, what are some of the big ways that Anastasia Labs can push the ecosystem forward? And my background in compiler development and programming language theory, and my CTO's background in security analysis really makes it so that we're very well suited towards the auditing space. But it's hard to contribute to an ecosystem just as auditors. So we came to the conclusion, one of the big ways we can push the ecosystem forward is by doing pro bono audit work to make sure that projects that can't afford audits get audited, and also to make sure that we can have a positive impact by leveraging the fact that we're quite good at auditing. Yeah, so I made an announcement a while back that if you're a top 15 TVL protocol on Cardano and you agree to open source, then we'll conduct an audit for free. And this offer was accepted by Genius Yield, and we are now in the middle of conducting the audit, and they've agreed to commit to open sourcing their smart contracts after the audit report is finalized and the fixes are applied.
It's literally like you somehow read what was on my mind. I was having a separate conversation with another member outside of this conversation, of course. And that was one of the things that we were just kind of chatting about, right? The fact that a lot of proposals for Project Catalyst were all dealing with requesting of funds for audits and how we could lower the barrier for entry for people to get audits because again of number one how important they are, but then number two, just from a security standpoint, you don't want to use a protocol that hasn't gone through the auditing process. So I think anything that you guys can do in order to lower that barrier to entry, as you mentioned, doing pro bono work, right, where you're not getting anything up front, but you're providing a value, I think needs to be the norm going forward. What I would personally love to see is some sort of catalyst funds set aside specifically for auditors, right, to be able to do their job and provide that sort of base layer for everybody building here on Cardano. Because again, it's not just something that benefits you or the Dapp, it benefits the entire community for people to have their smart contracts audited. So I wanted to say thank you for taking the time to do that. Obviously, you're not getting anything up front, but I think that that really boosts your at least it shows your commitment to Cardano. And I think it boosts my personal confidence and probably the community's confidence into Anastasia Labs because, again, you're willing to kind of walk the walk even when you're not getting paid to do that work. So shout out to you guys for doing that. And I encourage any team that is a top 15 team here within Cardano to go ahead and reach out to Philip and the Anastasia Labs team to take them up on that offer. I'll go ahead and leave the link to that down below. The next thing I maybe just want to quickly touch on, right, is with some of these audits, when you're going to a team and you're finding stuff, how do you guys go about number one, running additional audits? Because again, that takes additional funds, but then sort of just kind of double checking that what you guys have actually asked to be resolved has been resolved.
Right. So, yeah, other auditors handle this differently, especially very large auditing firms, in that they make you pay for a second audit, right? If you want them to audit your resolutions. So say we find something that needs to be fixed, then the project applies some fix, then you have to pay for another audit to make sure that the new code is now sound. We don't do this. We'll audit the new code directly as part of the first audit. And the resolution and our evaluation of the resolution will be reflected in the audit report.
Yeah, so I like to hear that because I feel like, again, you shouldn't be charged twice if you're auditing technically what is supposed to be the same code, given the first revision that should have been made. Anything else maybe that you want to touch on here, Phil, just with respect to Anastasia Labs? I know that there was a recent proposal surrounding yourself and Maestro and plug and play contracts. Maybe for somebody who's not aware of, what the impact of those are, can you maybe jump into that and how Anastasia Labs works into that process?
Yeah, so plug and play smart contracts are just basically drag and drop composable audited smart contracts that you can place into your existing Web2 or Web3 application with basically no effort, right? So you can, if you're a smart contract developer or not even a smart contract developer, but you have some experience in Cardano, you can just use the open source audited smart contracts that we've published, Anastasia Labs on our GitHub, and you can bring them into your application, whether you want vesting or multi-sig or a direct swap system. But if you don't want to do that and deal with the off-chain and infrastructure requirements of doing that, you can just add a single API call to Maestro to interact with any of these contracts. And in this way, it's practically drag and drop. You have a website, you want to add some vesting functionality or multi-sig or swapping functionality, you can just drag and drop this Maestro integration into it.
Awesome. Thank you there for the quick response. I want to jump into an old Twitter post and some of the services that you guys provide moving forward. I think one of them was actually going to be with butane, but I think they actually decided to postpone that. And I'd love to get to maybe kind of hear what the plans are moving forward. So we've kind of talked about the smart contract and security audit service, which I think is somewhat of the core service that you guys are most known for. But I'm also seeing a little bit here about staking, cross-chain bridging, NFT marketplaces, and then SIP68 support. With respect to those additional services, where do you guys stand with that? And, what is kind of maybe the focus moving forward? Is it still just the security and auditing, or do you plan to expand and spend more time on some of these other aspects?
No, in fact, we spend quite a lot of our time. I'd say it's broken down 50-50 between those two things. The difference is we don't really want to be a development firm because this vendor locks people, right? So then people are obligated, right? If they hire us, they use specific technology, a different stack than other people, then you wind up having to continue to hire people. And we've noticed a trend in the ecosystem where it's very hard to sort of get out of these situations where you have reliance on an external development firm. And we really don't want to suck value from the ecosystem. We want to provide value. So in regards to those things, we are continuously developing and improving them. But the idea is to make it as simple as possible for other people to not even have to hire us, right? So say you want any of those things, you go on our GitHub and you just hit deploy, right? You want this NFT marketplace, you have a white label NFT marketplace that you can just deploy and replace with your own branding and get to market. And we're making an effort to do that with all of those things, with the staking system and the rest of it. And the goal here is, it's not like we're doing this for free, out of the kindness of our heart. We genuinely believe that right now there's not enough room for everyone to be a self-sustaining entity on Cardano. So what we want to do is grow Cardano, and the way that we believe that this can be achieved, and that has been demonstrated in basically every other successful ecosystem, is by making high availability of open source projects on which people can build upon. Right? If you look at Ethereum flourishes because we have some open source protocol, then someone else builds on top of it, and someone else builds on top of it, et cetera, right? Or someone else, modifies it in unique ways that eventually all of these modifications bubble up to the top, right? So if you look at like Uniswap, there's like 30 different Uniswap variations, right? But the good parts of those variations eventually bubble up, right? And this creates a compounding effect where the whole ecosystem is pushing everyone else forward, right? When one person succeeds, it's not just that project that succeeds, it's the entire ecosystem. And we really want to manifest this on Cardano.
Nicely put. Maybe my last and final question before we go and bring up our guest to discuss more about zkFold. What's the goal and focus for Anastasia Labs in 2024?
Definitely more zk stuff, more collaboration with zkFold and the Endcoins team, and yeah, more high quality available open source code, and more community driven pro bono auditing work, etc.
Thank you, Phil. Now, you are not just the head of Anastasia Labs. You're also, I believe, a key contributor. I'll let you kind of clarify the position for zkFold in collaboration with Vlad, who's also the founder and builder of Endcoins, a privacy protocol here on Cardano. So let me go ahead and bring up Vlad here. Again, two members representing zkFold. I've had Vlad on for the past couple of days to actually chat a little bit more about their zkFold proposals. One of them, I think they're kind of handling by themselves. And then another one, they're collaborating with Maestro, an infrastructure provider here on Cardano. So welcome to the channel, Vlad. Good to see you again.
Hi, Farid. Glad to be here.
Thank you for your time. I'll turn it over to either of you. I know Phil's kind of had the spotlight, but can we get a quick elevator pitch as to what zkFold is?
Yeah, so zkFold is a company and a project that aims to scale Cardano by using zero-knowledge technology, both on layer 1 and layer 2. So our current proposals cover basically the layer 1 part of the things, and then later on we will start developing zk Rollup for Cardano.
Thank you there for the quick summary of zkFold. I do have a sit down with Vlad and Stanislav to just kind of highlight what zkFold is. Please make sure to go and check out that particular video. And then more recently, I had him on with the Maestro team on as well to talk about both of their Catalyst proposals. One of them focusing on their backend prover, and then one of them focusing on zk Symbolic, their own native language for writing smart contracts for writing, zero knowledge proofs or zero knowledge smart contracts. You guys feel free to correct me there if I'm using any incorrect terminology. Now, my next thing that I want to maybe just kind of quickly post to you, is about Phil's potential role, right? Because again, I think you've got a strong background in the security audit portion. You mentioned compiling and that aspect of coding. Where do you kind of fit in the picture, and how are you contributing to something like zkFold?
Right. So I help out with a lot of the Cardano specific, especially smart contract related aspects. In terms of like providing real world examples or providing information about how the ledger handles things. I think a lot of the direction is sort of the same as the goals of Anastasia Labs, whereas like we're trying to make smart contracts accessible to people. Vlad is taking it even a step farther and making zk smart contracts accessible to people. And these are concepts that are typically really hard to grasp. And to write your first zk smart contract is typically very difficult, right? And the goal of things like zk wrapper and zk symbolic is to make these things accessible to average developers.
I assume Anastasia Labs will definitely be included in the auditing process for anything that comes out for zkFold. But one thing that I'm maybe just kind of wondering about, so you guys obviously have proposals out for Catalyst. Worst case scenario, let's say you guys are not funded. How are you guys able to continue pushing along? I think this is such an integral piece here when it comes to scaling that we need to get this. And I understand that the competition is extremely stiff with Project Catalyst. And so my vote is definitely going towards you guys. But let's say worst case scenario, you guys don't get any funding. How are you guys able to continue to spend the time and actually sustain to see this thing come all the way through?
The peer-to-peer crypto on-ramp that's a zkFold and Ncoin's collaborative proposal is something that we'll personally fund, or at least Anastasia Labs would personally fund that if it doesn't get funded through Catalyst, because we really believe this is such an important step forward for the ecosystem.
Yeah, it looks like Vlad maybe wanted to add something there as well.
Yeah, sure. So that's basically number one reason why we decided to not go for zk rollup from the start, because we wanted to make sure that we can provide value basically as soon as possible to the ecosystem, right? So that's why we designed our roadmap in such a way that we have several products, and all of them can be used on their own, and all of them add value to the ecosystem. So even if we not get funded, we can still deliver the MVP of zkFold symbolic and then go from there.
Yeah, I think once the community, again, this is worst case scenario, once the community sees what you guys have built and how a big of an improvement it is and how big of a benefit it is to the Cardano community, that you guys shouldn't have any issues getting funded in future rounds. But of course, the hope is that you guys do get funded as a part of Catalyst round funding round number 11. The very last question I want to go and just kind of pose to the both of you is just with respect to when we can actually begin to see some of the first products launching, but then anything that you guys are focusing on for 2024 for zkFold. So number one, when can we actually get a product live, even if it's just an MVP? And then number two, what's the overall focus for something like zkFold?
Yeah, so for all our proposals, we set the timeline 6 months from here. So it will be, I guess, August when we plan to deliver deliver on the current proposals. In terms of what you can expect in this year, so basically deliver on all those proposals that we already submitted. Then what we want to do is to enable developers to code in the popular on-chain languages for Cardano to code zero-knowledge smart contracts there as well. So we haven't put a proposal for this just yet, but we have started the work in this direction already. So we plan to do it this year as well. Yeah, then we have some other project that another project that is haven't been announced just yet. Yeah, and just preparing for zk rollup. I don't think it is coming this year, but we will do a lot of preparatory work to make it happen next year.
Right, and if I can just add to that, if you're interested in zkFold and the technology, you can actually go on GitHub right now to zkFold and check this out. And even there's examples for zkFold symbolic that you can just start writing even right now. So yeah, it's available. It's being built in public, and you can go check it out.
Thank you, gentlemen. I do have to run to another call. Philip joining me representing Anastasia Labs, Vladimir representing zkFold. Of course, Philip does play both sides of the team here, supporting Anastasia Labs and supporting zkFold there as well. I'll leave the links to both of these platforms down below. I do appreciate you guys jumping on here literally on a whim. It's an enjoyable experience, and I look forward to having you guys both back on here as Anastasia Labs develops and as zkFold comes to life here, bringing scalability solutions to Cardano. Ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it here for today's interview. If you guys did enjoy this and you guys found this to be helpful, I would appreciate you if you could smash that thumbs up. If it's your first time stopping by Dapp Central and you want more content like this highlighting all the builders here on Cardano, consider subscribing. And last but not least, if you have any questions for myself or for Philip and Anastasia Labs, or even for Vlad and zkFold, then please make sure to go ahead and leave those down below. That said, and as always, we'll see you guys in the next video.